Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What's up, First Cut friends and family? We are here with a new recap of Peacemaker Season 2. I'm here with my homie, Cade Huseby. Cade, if you're familiar with the First Cut channel, you've seen Cade many a times through our Netflix Select series, which is available for members only. Cade also interviewed one of the executives at DreamWorks Animations as well, which is also available for members as well on the channel. So, hey, join our membership. You see a lot of Cade content that's out there.
I'm behind the paywall, baby. What's good?
Hey, exactly. That's where the best content lies, honestly. And we also got other member videos exclusives, like me and Dorian getting pulled over by the cops in Las Vegas when we went to see Tenet. All fun stuff. Yeah. It's a lot of good stuff there for the members. But thank you, Kay, for joining the show. Hold up. Last show. Yeah, no, thank you, Kay. Thank you. First of all, we are both big James Gunn fans. I think we could both say we're in the Gunn squad, for sure.
I think so, yeah, the Gunn cult, as some call it.
The Gunn cult, the Gunn squad, whatever the terminology
Recently
is.
brainwashed.
Yeah, exactly. We are the monkeys that are typing the positive things about James Gunn online.
No, literally.
I was gonna ask, you took a whole class on James Gunn back at SC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, at USC they were offering every semester they offer a course that's like a case study on a certain movie, and the one I joined was a Guardians of the Galaxy case study. So like the whole semester, once a week, it was like a different person from the Guardians team that came in and like talked to the class. And one of the weeks was James Gunn. And I remember I asked him a question about, like how did you choose the music for the iconic soundtrack, And he kind of gave me this answer like, I just kind of like chose the music. Like, what do you mean? I was like, oh shoot, okay, my bad. But
Right.
it was
Pure
really
aura.
cool for him to come out. Yeah, pure aura, like for real.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's cool that he came out. It's cool that, they did that. That was, I forgot the teacher's name for that class, Peter something. Something. I forgot.
Peter Parker, yeah.
Yeah, something, yeah. He also had I took a class with him for like film business. And there's a crazy, I'm gonna throw this on screen too, but there's a crazy page in the book that he had that was like breaking down the accounting of Harry Potter, I think in the Goblet of Fire, and how that movie made like $700 million, but they still found a way to say that it didn't make money. Like, it's kind of crazy how this Hollywood accounting stuff works. But yeah, dog. Long story short, we also both really love Superman, and we both really like Peacemaker. I don't think Andres is really the biggest Peacemaker fan, if I'm being honest with y'all, or at least from the times me and Andres have talked about it. Kind of seems a little bit more lukewarm on it. But, I know, Kay, we was like, as soon as we saw Superman, as soon as we saw the trailers for Peacemaker, we was like, oh, we got to hop on this.
Yeah, you had like gave a glowing review about Peacemaker season one, and I wasn't like super into the DC universe when that show came out or whatever, but I was looking for a new show. I just finished Love Island USA after 60 weeks straight of viewing, and I was looking for something funny to watch, and I was like, I think this is the time to watch Peacemaker. So I binge watched season one, which was just like has to be like one of my favorite watches of this year so far, even though it didn't come out this year. And I watched it probably like 2 weeks before Superman came out, so I was just like kind of positioned in like the right way to like go in and see Superman and like kind of like geek out over that Peacemaker cameo. And I was like turning to my friends in the theater like, "Yo, like it's Peacemaker." And they're like, "What?" Like, but
Right.
yeah, but it hit different. And then also especially how they incorporated the Justice League at the end of season one, like the shadowy figures and like Jason Momoa's cameo and
Mm.
all that.
Yeah, no, and that's funny, and that's a perfect way to transition to the next thing. We don't hit about too is the transition from the DCEU to the DCU that happens in the pre-credit, like, the usually it's like a previously on show, but in this case they didn't say previously on Peacemaker, they said previously in the DCU, to kind of show you, kind of like a little wink and a nod to this little whole multiverse thing. Like, okay, what happened in the DCEU is still the same thing that happened in this universe, except instead of the Justice League, it's the Justice Gang, and we get those cameos in there. I think that was really funny. I think that was just a really quick, funny way to just retcon everything in just one kind of snap. And it also feeds directly into the theme of the entire season, which is this whole multiverse concept of like this character going from a different one universe to another to eventually meet his, spoil. By the way, spoiler alert, this is full spoilers. If you haven't seen Peacemaker season 2, episode 1, this is your time to check out. I'm warning y'all, get off the boat, because this is the spoiler cutoff right here.
Our plan is to basically do like a weekly recap of the season 2 episodes. So, these are probably going to come out after each episode. You've had some time to watch, and honestly, like at that point, just like hop on board the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments too.
Hop in the comments, throw in a like, subscribe, all that stuff. This is the time, and dab it up for your boys. The biggest thing is, going to a different universe and meeting his father and his dead brother, who from season 1, the brother was killed as a teenager. Now he's alive as an adult, played by
David Dedman.
There we go, David Dedman from The Office, Roy from The Office. Very
ironic. That killed me. Yeah.
Very ironic casting, because James Gunn used to be married to Jenna Fisher, so it's kind of like, So
wow.
That's how they used to know. That's how they knew each other. So it's like, it's kind of like exes collabing. And then of course James Gunn's wife plays in this show. Jennifer Hetland is also in this show as well. So and we're gonna get to her intro scene in a second too. But yeah, I love the retconning. Everybody who knows me on the channel knows I love Zack Snyder. I love the DCEU. I love what they had previously, even though it was a bit of a mess. I love Jason Momoa's Aquaman. I love Flash. I love all of that. But
I love Trisha Paytas's Aquaman.
That's exactly. But yeah,
also,
I like that.
What does the EU stand for? Because it just makes me think of like the European Union. I'm like, what is the E in DCEU?
Yeah, I think that was a DC Extended Universe.
Extended Universe. Okay.
Yeah. Now this is just a DC Universe. Very clean. They took out.
And honestly, like frankly, I'm gonna try not to like constantly draw comparisons between Marvel and the DCU, but I feel like at this point it's like, how can you not? And I feel like we're finally seeing kind of like the benefits of how they've transitioned into like, folding it all under James Gunn's vision, and I feel like it's really like working really well so far. I mean, it's only been like basically 3 projects, but I feel like having that uniform vision is like, it's kind of satisfying to feel kind of taken care of as an audience member, and being like, okay, we're gonna like, everything's gonna make sense finally.
That's what's crazy about this whole situation. I think James Gunn said, I heard somewhere he said that they wrote all of Peacemaker, Superman, and the animated show Creature Commandos all in the span of like a year.
I wrote Creature Commandos, I wrote Superman, I wrote Peacemaker season 2, all in 1 year. 650 pages of material.
So
wow.
So it's like all of this stuff is all kind of all interconnected with each other. And I think that's kind of, like you said, the benefit of having a singular voice running the universe. They tried that with the old regime with Zack Snyder, but Zack Snyder, he's more of a visual guy and very moody, and that wasn't going the way that was popular with audiences. This kind of having the combination of comedy with, a light tone, but also a very cynical tone, I could say in a lot of ways. A lot more R-rated in this universe than we've seen in previous. And I think it's so funny. I think there's gonna be so many people who watch Superman and want to be like, oh, I like DC. I want to see what this new DC is talking about, and they're gonna head right into Peacemaker. And season one is violent and there's cursing and all that, but there's not like some extreme, it's not like too much extreme, sex, STX.
Right, it's not
Uh,
like a Euphoria Diddy freak off
yes,
like
season one, yeah, season one wasn't. Season two though, we kick off with a crazy orgy sequence that was like, whoa, that was that was some wild stuff. I did not see that coming.
yeah.
What was your
And
what was your
also, I feel like with like Marvel movies and Marvel TV properties, it's like I feel like they try their best to like maintain a sort of like cinematic quality between the TV shows and the movies, but it never really like translated as well into the shows because of like budgets and like episodic
mm,
counts and like all of that. And I think it's like it's nice that like with this they're like okay for if you want some more like mature like gritty comedy then like the TV shows are going to be kind of like in the same world but in a different way like they're going to be like kind of in the gutter of Gotham versus like at the top of the Luthor Corp tower kind of sparkly clean like the movies and stuff.
yeah, no, that's a good way to draw the line because it's definitely this is definitely R rated. Even Creature Commandos had a little like cartoon nudity sprinkled in there a little bit throughout. But also very violent too. But yeah, I like that there is a distinction because not everybody's gonna watch the TV shows, and honestly, adults are probably really going to be more interested in the shows more than anything. And I
Yeah.
think if they want kid-friendly superhero content, like you said, the Marvel movies and shows are all right there. Miss Marvel is a PG rated, TV show that Marvel got for you on Disney Plus. Freaking like all of the Marvel shows are pretty much like PG or PG-13. There's not really an R rated Marvel show that they have besides like Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah,
that.
and how much of like the Disney leash do you think plays into that?
Well, yeah, I mean that that's 100% the Disney leash. I mean they didn't even want to go R rated until Deadpool and Wolverine, which is like there was already what like 15 years into the universe at that point. Which is
Right,
which
right.
is they got to play it safe, and I get it. That's Disney, but at the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
time, it's like there's obviously an audience for the R rated content, R rated superhero movies. Like I think if James Gunn had full control, I'm sure Superman would have like went a little harder. Like I'm sure they always wanted it to be PG-13, but like I'm sure he was trying to push that line as much as possible, like as much as the
yeah,
studio probably would have let him. But I appreciate that. I like the adult sensibility because we kind of mentioned it beforehand before we start recording. Kind of feels like The Boys, right? The Boys is very popular. The
yeah,
Boys is like kind of brought a new perspective to superhero properties with like a kind of bit, like I said, cynical little hints of like real world ideas and real world stuff, but like adding some cynical perspective onto it. Yeah, I mean, how do you kind of feel about that? Do you kind of feel like this is kind of leaning into the Boys kind of world of it all, or
Well, I feel like The Boys was kind of the first time that anyone had tapped into like the natural like aging of the 2000 superhero fans and being like, okay, well these kids that were watching Raimi Spider-Man are now adults and like, there's a market there. But then also like just from the creative side of things too, being like, like if we put superheroes in our real world, like this would get messy, like, you know what I mean? And these people would have egos, and it's not all just like save the day, clean. There's a lot of like intricate business, and like I think the boys kind of, well, the boys was a comic book first, right?
yeah,
Or
it was a comic book. I forgot who the publisher was, but yeah,
yeah,
like
but
Image.
it's like okay, well, like they're exploring these ideas of like the human behind the superhero more than just like I think some more like previous superhero stuff did. and it works really well for comedy, and it works really well for like R-rated like extremes, you know, like we see in this first episode of Peacemaker season 2, and kind of what we saw throughout all the first season too, like just like so funny, so raunchy, just so real, which is why I loved it so much. It's like, you know, these people aren't necessarily like, they don't necessarily have the highest like esteem or morals necessarily, but they're still doing good. Like they're still trying to save the world, but that's like a messy thing to try to do.
Yeah, no, it's a messy world. It's a messy universe. I think that's why Gunn was smart for calling this like his first phase of the DC universe, the Gods and Monsters. You know, like the Gods and Monsters saga, because it's like, you know, it's a lot of, you know, Superman's, a lot of these big names that are like kind of like the godlike figures that are, you know, kind of more omnipotent, super crazy, overpowered. But meanwhile, there's just a normal world full of like monsters and credences and creatures and like all kinds of scummy people. And I think this is the boys kind of did a good job of like outlining how the real world implications of that would kind of look like cinematically, even though, you know, comic books have been doing that for a long time, but it's always kind of hard to kind of lean into that snarky kind of over the top tone, because there's always kind of been like these superhero tropes and conventions that people have just kind of been comfortable with. But now that we're kind of in the era of superhero fatigue and people kind of not really being as interested in the traditional, not really being as interested in the standard Marvel movie or the standard comic book movie, now they kind of want to see something like a Logan, like a Joker, like a you know, Peacemaker. So this is you know, I really like how they're doing that with this show, and I think that honestly opens up more opportunity for character development. And I think that's why we see cool scenes like, you know, going back to Jennifer Holland's character. Gosh, what is her name? I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But homegirl, who of course was Harcourt. There we go. Yeah. We see her intro scene, again, told she suffers from severe toxic masculinity, which is like,
yeah, that's hilarious.
Like that's super super crazy. And then like she goes into the bar and has a fight with a bunch of guys, which is a really funny callback to season 1, episode 1, when she got into the bar fight with the one guy. Now she kind of gets into a fight with a bunch of guys and ends up totally getting. At first, she was winning. At first, she was like snapping bottles, like kicking butt. But then she kind of ends up getting, you know, her patootie handed to her a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a check for her. It's like, you know, it's like that's kind of like her reminder to herself that like she still got it. Like she walks into these bars all confident, like kind of not like with a plan to start fighting, but like obviously like anticipating having to like snap back at some like catcalling and barflies trying to like get with her. And it's like, that's, you know, that's one of the things I love so much about her in season 1 is like how she's just able to like call these people out because she doesn't really have any fear or like hesitation towards like fighting. And I guess like the psychologist kind of like labels that as toxic masculinity, but it's also just her kind of being like, that's her comfort zone too as a character, is like she's trained to kill, trained to fight, and each fight she gets stronger too. So I think she just kind of like uses it as sort of like a shooting range for her Black Widow-esque talents, you know. She's like, let me see what I can do here.
Yeah, nah, facts. And it's crazy because she is a great fighter. She was definitely handling that for a minute. But then, yeah, she ends up getting whooped on pretty bad, ended up kicking her out upside. But then at the end of it all, she ends up still giving like this little slight grin at the end of it. Kind of I feel like showing like, oh, like maybe this is what she wanted the whole time. Like she was looking for.
It's like therapeutic for her. Like, you know what I mean? And also like, that fighting sequence, I felt like kind of set the tone for this season, that they're gonna like amp everything up even more than last season, because there were like bar fights last season, but like nothing this extensive in terms of like fight choreo and like camera movements, and it just felt like okay, like yeah, this is definitely going to be a lit season of action. I felt like.
Yeah, nah, it's cool. It's really cool that James Gunn is like open to directing like all of these episodes of TV and writing all of these episodes of TV while also doing Superman, while also being the head of DC, you
The
know,
literal like
co-head.
CEO.
Yeah. While doing like I said, like doing these recap podcasts, like they like literally like my son is going on these recap podcasts and he's talking about, and you know, one of the questions got brought up about the orgy, and then he's like, is this the dirtiest we're gonna get? And he's like, well, I don't know. I watched some pretty filthy stuff, and then he starts describing some of the filthy things he watches. And it's like, gosh, Lee, like my son is the head of DC, and he's just open like this. But it's you know, I honestly commend it. It feels very like you said, artist forward, very like a very interesting perspective to kind of put on a cinematic universe, and I hopefully encourages other filmmakers to be free and how they're going to make their films going forward too, and TV
Yeah.
shows going forward.
Yeah, I felt like I felt like I was really excited to jump back into season two and like see the gang together and see like the dynamics, which are like my favorite part of the show, just like how they all kind of tease each other and like kind of the growth we saw last season, between like Hardcore and Peacemaker, like finally kind of coming together in a more like significant way, but this season like they start off like all separated, all kind of like lost, trying to like figure out what their next move is. And I guess that's like gonna kind of open up a runway for them to build back up to that, hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, what did you think about how it all kind of started out with like them all in different areas, like doing their own thing, lost?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we see them all pretty much at their lowest of lows, right? We see Peacemaker trying to go in for that interview with the Justice Gang, which was super crazy. Um, we all kind of see him going through like failed interview sequences. The only dude who looked happy was the other homie who was working at the fast food joint,
Yeah,
the crazy homie.
Vigilante.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
vigilante. Yeah, but he's just a naturally like he's always gonna be he's just like one of them psychopaths, you know.
Yeah, he
But
lacks
yeah,
like any self-awareness to like even be sad. I feel like he's just like
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's like, yo, I'm just peaking. I'm just ready for the call back, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
so so that's funny, but and I also think shout out to Danielle Brooks playing Amanda Waller's daughter. Man, I forget her
Leota
name.
Adebayo.
Yeah, Leota. Yeah, exactly.
She's dead
Uh,
ass like my favorite character. She's so funny.
She is, and like she just be supporting everybody. Like when she was driving Peacemaker to the interview and stuff like that. And yeah, even Amanda is very clearly blacklisting everybody, even her own daughter from getting like any kind of opportunities now. So it's like, dang,
Yeah,
everybody
that's
is like a
cold.
yeah. That's I mean, I'm like, man, this is it's tough stuff. So everybody's at their lowest of lows, but yeah, I like you said though, it is going to be fun kind of seeing them build that team energy back up. Hopefully get back together in the further seasons. But yeah, I was going to ask you out of uh well, okay, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you a question in a second. But first of all, before we get to that question, what do you think of the Justice Gang interviewing Peacemaker and with the microphone being on like on and off sequence that happened
So
during that scene?
funny. Like I was cracking up the whole time. And I also love seeing Sean Gunn finally take like a center stage role in one of these projects. I feel like
Yeah.
he's always like a supplementary character or something, but like framing him as like this sort of like the head of the Justice Gang, like the business guy, I thought was like really smart and really funny. And also I just love how they, after coming off the heels of Superman, they're like, no, we're not gonna like scale down and like just talk about these characters like they're in the universe but they're not. And they had, the Green Lantern dude, and they had Hawk Girl, like they had those those stars from Superman in the show. And I thought that that was something I really appreciated. It just made the world feel like way more connected. Again, like talking about this like under James Gunn's eye kind of thing, and like yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. And then also just hearing like them talk shit about John Cena's character or Peacemaker, like while he's
Yeah.
right there was just like so real. Like I really appreciate like the realness that they're bringing to that.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. There's so much craziness with that whole scene. For one, just the way the light that was just glaring off of Peacemaker's helmet, like, kind of made it so awkward. Like, it was like, before he went into the interview, he was like, they're gonna think my head's like a disco ball or something, and then that's exactly what it looked like. And then, of course, like you said, Max Gunn playing Maxwell. I'm sorry, Max Gunn, Sean Gunn playing Maxwell Lord. In the comic books, Maxwell Lord is like this tech CEO who is like, again, he's kind of like a Lex Luthor. He's like not a good guy version of Lex Luthor. In some ways, he's a villain. He was actually the villain of Wonder Woman 1984, and guess
Oh,
who? Yeah, and that was when he was played by Pedro Pascal. So
of course, of
yeah.
course,
So
yeah.
this is another like retconning situation a little bit too, further separating the old universe from the new universe, and it's good to see that. It's good to see how funny that character is. How funny, like, again, we already knew how funny Guy Gardner was as Green Lantern. We know how funny
He's so
Homegirl
good
is.
in that role. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like I
Nathan
love seeing that
Fillion,
energy. Nathan
like
Fillion, yeah, he's a good, yeah, the good friends with James Gunn. Yeah, honestly, out of all of the comedic bits that happened throughout like this show, or honestly, yeah, honestly, this was my favorite comedic scene. Like this whole from beginning to end, like from them
yeah.
talking about the popcorn, like saying, hot girl saying, my butt's too big, I gotta eat low carbs, and then uh guy being like, I have no butt, it's like completely flat, and then it's like all of those bits, and then once the mic thing becomes revealed, Maxwell Lord being like, oh man, I wonder if the last girl heard the thing about the camel toe. Like, I think I said that like 30
No,
times.
and
Like,
she literally came running out in the
yeah.
beginning of the scene, like so distraught. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, if you run back her running out, you could definitely see his little something that should have been there. So it's like, yeah, they definitely attention to detail was on point. Yeah,
It
funny.
was a little. I was a little surprised though that like Peacemaker would have just bolted out of there like he did because I feel like that's something that he wants is to be like more mainstream recognized as like a superhero. You know what I mean? So like that I was a little like that kind of bumped for me a little bit just in terms of like character like development, I guess, just being like, well, I feel like if he sat there and took all that and like now they're talking to each other more directly, it's like I feel like he might I don't know, he might have stayed and taken it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, it's true. I think he probably could have. I think he also just didn't want to be a part of those guys, that gang too. I mean, of course, like as we learned in season one of Peacemaker, Peacemaker is bisexual. So then it's like when they're kind of getting at him with these like homophobic jokes, he's like, he kind of takes it extra sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like definitely something that's like, oh, okay, and I think he's like, nah, I really just don't want to mess with these guys.
Yeah,
So
especially since they were like so late to try to save the day at the season one finale. Like,
yeah,
they all
yeah,
showed up as silhouettes, and he's like, "You guys suck."
yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, no. Otherwise, though, I love seeing that. I love seeing, again, that leads into the orgy sequence, which was just crazy.
Wait, I
Um,
gotta ask you, like, did you did you feel like that was real off the bat? Because the way they transitioned from him like alone in the apartment
right.
to the apartment being filled with naked people, I thought it was like more like metaphorical or like a daydream or something. But then,
Right.
so like that was something I was trying to like decipher while watching it. Was like, these people literally came out of nowhere, and like since when does he know like 30 people? You know what I mean? Who are like all down to like have a freak off. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
what is going on? But I think once I realized like, okay, Economos is seeing it too. Okay, it's real.
Yeah.
Like it kind
Yeah.
of made it like funnier, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was the revolutionary moment for me too. Because I was thinking the same thing. It got to be a dream sequence. Like it
Yeah,
has to
right?
be. Just the way it was going down. But yeah, once we saw Economo was looking in, he sees two homegirls. Like I don't even want to describe it.
Right.
But
You can
it's
just use
just
your imagination.
right, right. Yeah, some you know, I think that was kind of a little bit of like, okay, maybe this is like actually happening. But it's funny that that whole sequence happens, and then it leads into my favorite needle drop of the entire episode, which when he goes into the portal and then he walks into the other universe that he starts hanging out in with his deceased brother and father. That needle drop
Yeah.
playing the song, I think it's called Dreamer by Foxy something something. The same band that did the intro song in the beginning. So the same band actually has
Yeah.
two songs in this episode. Yeah, that was fire. I mean, that literally was like a super great transition, super great song,
The
right on
music is
theme.
such a solid through line in this entire series. Like even last season, like all the silly covers, like the glam rock covers they did of certain songs, like Pumped Up
Yeah.
Kicks or that like Taylor Swift song, like I feel like James Gunn is like really good at using music, and it's definitely coming through in Peacemaker too, like that's something that's very personal to him as a character is like, and you even see it across dimensions. He's still a fan of these like obscure glam rock bands. He has the posters in his room, and they're
Yeah.
like more neatly framed than they were in the other universe. But like, yeah, just I'm excited to see what other rock covers they might pull out in this season too.
Yeah, no, I am too. It's funny how different, Superman had to be very score driven, had to be very bombastic with the, dun 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 dun, like the orchestral stuff. And they couldn't really have a lot of needle drops. Like they had the one needle drop at the end with Punk Rocker, but
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of those, especially compared to Guardians, where it's like a needle drop every like 10 minutes or something like that.
yeah,
I feel like Gunn took all that energy. He was like wanted from Superman. I was like, okay, I just gotta throw it in Peacemaker. So we get so many
yeah.
songs. We get a lot of that kind of vibe, which is dope, which is just good.
Yeah, it's good to know like across projects there's gonna be like a similar tone, but like different usages of like music or camera, and like it all is like very distinct, It's like each like between Superman and Peacemaker, like they're obviously very different, but you can tell like deep down they're part of the same like Gunniverse.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. Like I'm very excited to see where we go down the road. Of course, I think we're towards the. I think we're like a little bit over halfway. We're probably more close to the end of the episode as we start to get introduced to the top, what they call themselves, the top trio or the
Yeah, the top
yeah
trio.
yeah the top trio. This alternate universe of father, son, brother. Again, Roy from The Office making an appearance as Keith, the brother, and yeah, it's all good stuff. For one, I was so confused when they kept saying Bloodhaven or Broodhaven,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
was like, is that some like European country or something like that? But then eventually somebody says Bloodhaven, which is, if you're a DC fan, Batman fan, that's the famous city where Catwoman is from, and like all these other characters. So I'm like, oh shoot, okay, so it is kind of staying more. It is kind of a little bit of world building going on here too, even in this alternate universe. I I like seeing that, but I am curious though. We are early into this DC world. We just got Superman. We just got Creature Commandos, and we're just getting Peacemaker. We're already hopping into the multiverse realm
I know.
of storytelling. You know what I'm saying? How are we kind of
Yeah.
feeling about that? Because I feel like the superhero fatigue kind of correlated a little bit with the multiverse fatigue, but maybe I'm
The
tripping.
multiverse fatigue is so real, and I think though what I was thinking about is like it's really refreshing to see it being used as like a deeper, more like heartfelt character development piece versus just like oh, I want to see Loki if Loki was a woman. You know what I mean? Like or like I want to see like an animated pig version of Thor, or like you know what I mean? Like this multiverse version is like basically undoing all of the healing that he went through in the last season, which I think is like a very interesting psychological piece to explore with his character. It's like the whole last season was about him coming to terms with the fact that his father was evil, was abusive, and like also dipping into like how killing his brother traumatized him so deeply and kind of made him like the person he is today. And then it's like, boom, right off the bat, season two, they're like pulling that string, like pulling that thread, like undoing it basically, but like flipping it. And I think it's like, it is kind of the multiverse fatigue is so real, but I think the way they're using it in season two of Peacemaker so far is like at least a little bit more grounded in something meaningful versus something kind of just like aesthetic or like a cop out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, that's very yeah, I think James Gunn is very again very singular vision. I like that he has that vision because or he brings his vision to his films because you could kind of see a through line, right? And I think to me this whole um idea of this multiverse father who we meet the father in season 1 played by Robert Patrick or Patrick, I don't know. Yeah, Robert Patrick, that's his name. He is an a-hole. He's bad, he's abusive, he's like really
Like
terrible all the way
literally
through
like
and
the
through.
worst person to exist ever. Like,
Yeah,
you know
worst
what I
person
mean?
to it. Exactly, like awful. But then, of course, we head into the multiverse, go into another universe. It's the complete opposite. This father is nurturing, whatever. Very
Yeah,
caring.
yeah, very very
Yeah,
nurturing, very
re-
caring.
yeah, very nice
Like,
to Chris. He does his little hand thing, his little thing to grabs his ear. Kind of really causes John Cena to really open up emotionally in that kind of sequence.
yeah, and
Um,
I'll be like definitely really interested to see if they kind of go into what the split was between those two versions of the father character because it's like I think like it speaks like a broader real world thing of like, how do people become either like fighting for justice and good or like kind of throwing themselves into like the deep end of like cynicism and just like regressive values, you know?
right, right. I mean, because yeah, basically. The father in season 1 was like head of the clan, like he was one of the head
No,
clan
straight
members.
up. Like
And then
how does the same person be both? I really want to see how they explore that.
right.
Did you feel like there was a big differentiation between the way that that guy acted his performance as the father like in this new season and last season?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely peeped. I mean, I peeped that there was a difference in how, again, just the way he talked to Chris, like the way the guy in season 1 was talking to Chris was just like always pressing, always saying, basically, basically always insulting Chris, always putting him down, basically always insinuating the whole situation with the brother dying and everything. So it's like excuse me. So it's like, this was like a completely different energy, completely different kind of spirit. He did like a little bit of gesturing towards, you know, like being a good person. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like how much it is kind of the same performance. I think this is what James Gunn is going to be good at exploring because it's kind of the same. This is what I was going back to the vision of it all. This is almost kind of like a Guardians 2 situation, right? Like how Guardians 2, you know, we began with Chris Pratt, Chris Pratt, Star Lord meeting his father, played by Ego, played by Kurt Russell. And in the beginning, it's nice, it's sweet. Father's giving him everything he needs.
Right, right.
It's like his whole illusion being built. But by the end of the season, he ends up being just another bad guy in the end too. So it's
Right.
like I wonder, like, and that's a real theme. I mean, and to
Yeah.
me, Guardians 2 has always been. I've always said Guardians 2 has always been my favorite of the Guardians movies. Even though I love Guardians 3 a lot as well. But I would love to see how Gunn explores that kind of concept in this new version of Chris, because the journey that we got from season 1 of Peacemaker is he was always kind of an antagonist, and that was something that Chris needed to be freed from. Now the arc in season 2 being, he's already free from this. He's already free from this monster, but now he gets back attached to it. What's the consequences of that? And that is a very
And
good
now
way
he,
to
in a
explore.
way, like, spoiler obviously, but like the way that he kills himself,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
now is gonna set up them, like his own family coming after him. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like totally setting up something really interesting, like especially the fact that he had gotten them back in a new and like positive light, especially his brother Keith,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to have to probably end up fighting them and killing them again.
Both people who he killed in season 1 might have to get axed again in season 2, but in a much more heartbreaking way. So we got to see. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. I like the setup. I like where this is headed.
Me too.
They show, of course, a little preview of what we're going to be seeing heading into season 2. Do you have any other ideas of where season 2 might be headed?
I feel like the way that those suits are monitoring the quantum portal thing, you remember they were kind of talking about that in a boardroom or something. I feel
Yeah.
like there's going to be like a bigger story there too, in terms of like some sort of TVA adjacent, like uh quantum mismatch conflict going on. But I also feel like James Gunn isn't gonna, I don't I don't see him like, I don't see him like taking it very seriously in a way, if that makes sense, like the way that Marvel kind of did with like everything needs to be in its place. I feel like he'll, hopefully, I could see him taking the approach of being like, this gets messy too, and hopefully this will be kind of like the villain arc of the season that brings the team back together. And also, I'd love to see Harcourt's version in the alternate universe meet, this universe's Harcourt, and see like if that universe's Harcourt is also as like hard and ready to fight as this one, and like maybe they'll have a face down too. And then it also opens the door for like all the other characters to meet themselves in different ways, or like, you know, what is Economos up to in that universe? There's a lot of questions, I guess, that it poses, but I think it's all just like for the purpose of comedy at the end of the day, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be comedy. I do think there is going to be some world building, and I do have a theory. I have a theory, and this is actually not an original theory. I've talked about this on channel before. I watched the other YouTube channel, New Rockstar. Shout out New Rockstars. They make great content, and they kind of pitched this, and I'm kind of running with it. In this, in the multiverse, right? Like when we go to the other universe with Peacemaker and Keith and the father that's alive, they kind of mention how Harcourt is kind of seeing her ex again, right? And her ex is like this jarhead. Now, 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 what if this jarhead is really Rick Flag Jr., back to life? Because if you remember, where Peacemaker really all started was the Suicide Squad, right? 2021.
Yeah,
And he killed Rick Flag Jr. At the end of that movie, or not then, but like in the middle of that movie, basically. And that's, the whole ignition of the whole Peacemaker series, basically. Now, in season 2, we get introduced to Rick Flag Sr., who's played by Frank Grillo, And we already kind of know he has a little bit of an axe to grind against meta humans from Superman. We already know, like, he is. I'm thinking he might be. He'll eventually learn that Chris Peacemaker is the one that took his son's life. I feel like there's going to be a revenge plot about that kind of situation going on.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I feel like Rick Flag Sr. is not going to let Peacemaker sleep for what he did to Rick Flag Jr. And then in the multiverse, what if the ex that Hardcore was with was the other universe's Rick Flag Jr.? So then we get the return of Joel Kettleman as Rick Flag Jr. from Peacemaker. He ends up coming back, and we end up seeing him again. Like, I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%. I totally could see that happening. And also just like the way that nothing goes his way, like that definitely plays into that too. Like, this dude has like the worst luck, but also like kind of just like the consequences of his actions. But like, there's always a perfect storm of things not going Peacemaker's way. So I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah, no, I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this season. Apparently there's going to be some big things happening later on in the season, like episode 6 through 8. James Gunn kind of alluded to some big things, big cameos happening. So I'm very curious to see what's happening later on in these later episodes.
Maybe a little corn sweat.
Yeah, maybe corn sweat. Hey, look, I feel like Corn. He's a big name, but I feel like he's not the biggest name. I feel like you could get him for a TV show, a cameo or two.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
100.
saying?
Yeah.
You know, he's not like I don't even know. He's not Robert Pattinson. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like, no disrespect to David Cornsweet, but yeah, that'd be dope to see him cameo. It'd be dope to see, like I said, Rick Flag Jr. It'll be dope. Another theory that people are saying, maybe the boyfriend is Aaron Pierre as Green Lantern, because we already know that Green Lantern the Green Lantern TV show is gonna be coming next year with Aaron Pierre playing not Hal Jordan but Jon Stewart. So that could be a cameo too. But who knows? I'm just excited to see where this season goes.
Yeah, this is gonna be lit, and I'm glad we have a place to talk about it and kind of just like theorize on everything. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's, every week we're going to be here talking Peacemaker season 2. So make sure you subscribe to First Cut. Click that notification bell. Make sure y'all stay on the lookout for Peacemaker season 2 breakdowns. We're going to be here every single week. It's going to be me and Cade. Maybe it might be me, Cade, and Andres. Like I told Andres, he might be interested too, maybe. So this could be cool too for all three of us to get on. But we're definitely going to be, bare minimum is going to be us two. Every week talking about Peacemaker. Is going to be fun. Subscribe, hit the like button, throw some comments in. What are your thoughts on season 2 so far?
Tap in
with your theories on where y'all think the season is headed. And yeah, let us know. Or also feel free to correct us, because I probably said a lot of names wrong. I probably got a lot of back story and lore wrong, so I feel free to correct us in the comments too.
And also, if like somebody comments something, maybe we'll talk about it in the next episode and like do some like comment reactions and discuss like, other theories or things too. But yeah, dude, it's gonna be sick. Thanks for having me on. We're gonna just make some peace on First Cut. Peace, and by any means necessary.
Right, justice. Yeah, right. I forget his catchphrase already, but I'm getting it right next week. And Kay, where can people follow you?
You can find me everywhere at Cade Huseby, as it's spelled right here, CADEHUSEBY. If you haven't yet, check out the trailer for the featured documentary Rob and I made, Quarter Life Crisis. That's over on my YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll be here spilling it all each week.
Yeah, indeed. Check out the documentary trailer on Kay's YouTube channel. Here on First Cut, you can also watch my reaction to the trailer as well.
Which was so hilarious, by the way. Definitely need to watch that if you haven't yet.
Yeah, so double up on the fun, and subscribe, like I said. So with that being said, you can follow me at Director RB3, and then you can also follow at First Cut TMO on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere that you can find us. With that being said, y'all, for the First Cut crew, peace and out. So peace.
Peace.
It's either me or you. Only one can remain. It's either me or you. Only one can remain. It's either me or you.